1978 Ford Pinto recall. Cars in the early to mid-1900s had little to no safety measures built in. Until 1955, safety door locks were not installed on any Ford vehicles. Many cars had no sort of seat restraints. Auto manufacturers had a different mentality about safety than we do. Most people believe that poor driving was the cause of most automobile accidents, not poor engineering. Safety meant that safe behavior was by drivers. It was a viewpoint promoted by most manufacturers. Ford attempting and failing to change their view on safety. In 1956, Ford tried implementing a new safety precaution on a new vehicle. GM's competing vehicle was much less safe, but sold more than Ford's safe vehicle. After their new car failed to sell, Ford de-emphasized their focus on safety and put their focus on power and style instead.
U.S. Congress being pressured by the public to make Highway Safety Act. Due to the efforts of Ralph Nader, U.S. Congress created the National Highway Traffic Administration. They were responsible for creating new vehicle safety standards. Ford pressuring NHTSA to make safety regulations lax. In 1966, Ford management met with NHTSA to convince them that auto accidents are caused by people and highway conditions. The resultant creation of the cost-benefit analysis for safety. The cost-benefit analysis essentially put monetary values on people's lives. Based on the cost of someone's life, they could decide how much money they would spend on safety precautions. Ford's rush building of the Pinto. In 1971, Ford wanted to compete with the Volkswagen Beetle, but had no suitable car to put on the showroom floor. Engineer Lee Iacocca was in charge of the car's design and wanted it to be completed in 25 months.
The Pinto's ambitious limit of $2,000. Iacocca wanted the car to be less than $2,000 and weigh less than 2,000 pounds. With typical design and production taking up to 43 months, such an ambitious goal in under 25 months seemed doomed to fail. Ford Pinto project leaders beginning to cut corners. Due to styling constraints, the gas tank was installed on the car's rear. Because of the cost of creating a car in such a short amount of time is so expensive, many failed safety tests were marked as successful. Ford Pinto not holding to proposed standards. Standard 301 states that fuel spillage must be limited to 1 ounce per minute when rear-ended by a barrier moving 30 miles per hour. The Pinto did not pass this test, but since it wasn't an official test yet, it was able to be put into production.
The 1971 Ford Pinto, the carefree little American car. The Ford Pinto was not very carefree. With sufficient rear impact, the fuel tank could rupture and cause fuel spillage in a wide dispersive fashion. Ford Pinto contributed to 400,000 automobiles catching fire every year with its release. NHTSA's cost analysis of a human life. In 1972, NHTSA determined, based off of various medical and legal costs, that the human life was worth $200,725. Ford rounded this figure to $200,000 and began a cost-benefit analysis for redesigning their Pinto. Ford comparing spending $11 per vehicle to the cost of a human life.
Ford making the unethical choice. Ford decided to not strengthen the gas tank integrity because the cost to implement the design would cost more than paying the various fees associated with fatal crashes. Ford Pinto gaining a bad reputation. Ford Pinto investigations. In 1977, Mark Dowie claimed that Ford was responsible for up to 900 burn deaths because they were unwilling to spend $11 per car. As a result of these accusations, NHTSA began a new investigation regarding the safety of the Ford Pinto. The results of the investigation showed that the Ford Pinto was very susceptible to fuel spillage and resultant fire ignition. The Ford Pinto caused injury and death to many.
Investigations forced Ford to recall 1.5 million vehicles. As a result of NHTSA's findings, Ford recalled 1.5 million Ford Pintos and Mercury Bobcats to install new polyethylene shields to help protect the gas tank. This recall cost Ford an estimate of around $20 million. Ford lawsuits and trials. Dozens of charges were being brought forward by burn victims. One victim was awarded $6.6 million. Ford became the first corporation to be tried for criminal behavior when they were indicted on charges of reckless homicide after 3 girls died in a Ford Pinto fire. Ford's unethical behavior was very costly. In addition to Ford losing millions of dollars due to legal fees and recalls, they also forever tarnished their reputation. Ford unethically valuing money more than human life resulted in many injuries and deaths. As engineers, we should not have Ford's mentality. A large portion of our jobs should be dedicated to making sure that we're acting in an ethical manner to one another. Should we be put in the same position as Ford engineers from 1971, we should be prepared to take a stand and not potentially contribute to the death of another human.